Welcome, my name is Elizabeth Bazan. I'm the Curator of Art and History Education here at the Illinois State Museum. Today you're joining me in the Art on the Move exhibit in the Family Gallery. Do you know what an exhibit or an exhibition is? In a museum, it's a display of some kind. The display might have art, objects, video, sound, or words, or any mixture of those things. This exhibit was designed to invite visitors to look at art more closely and talk about what they see. We hope that visitors are inspired to move as they see each work of art, so we'll be moving after we look at each piece. I want you to make sure that you have a neighbor nearby that you can talk to during our time together today. Take a little bit of time and make sure that you have one or two partners while we move to our next work of art. This exhibit is called Art on the Move because it has art on display that has movement of some kind in it. Artists have a few different ways to make their art look like it's moving, and we're going to talk about them today as we look at the art. We're going to start with this painting here. You'll notice that there's a label next to the painting, and it has some questions on it for visitors to think about as they look at the art. It also has some information on the painting, like the title, the artist's name, and the materials that were used, and how it came to the museum. When I look at art and visit art exhibits, I like to read this information last so that I can form my own opinions about the art before I see what the curators or the museum staff thinks about it. So you don't have to do this when you go to exhibits, but that's what we're going to do today during this lesson. So we're going to come over here and look at this piece of art first. The first question you should ask yourself when you look at art is, what do I see? So take some time and look at the art, and in addition to asking, what do I see, ask, what is happening and how do I know? When I say turn to your partner and tell them what you noticed. Ready? Turn. Thanks for sharing. I see 3 people. And they seem to be trying to move this beam here, perhaps to lift something down here. I can tell because they're using their arms on the beam. They look like they're struggling against this a little bit. I told you that artists have ways that they can show movement in art. One is with lines. Diagonal or slanted lines show action. Vertical or up and down lines feel strong and balanced. Horizontal or side-to-side lines seem quiet and peaceful. There aren't very many vertical or horizontal lines in this painting, but there are a lot of diagonal lines. There's this long diagonal line here, and even the arms and legs of the men are also diagonal lines. That gives it a lot of energy or movement. Now look at the background. What do you see? Can you tell where these men are? Put your thumb up for yes or down for no. I can't tell where they are. There are a lot of diagonal lines, but I can't see any objects or things behind them. But I do see another way that artists can show movement. When artists paint or draw, the marks they use are called strokes. Here we can see the artist used colorful brush strokes in the background. Loose, short, or overlapping brush strokes can show action and feel energetic. As you look at the painting, imagine you are holding a brush in your hand and move your hand in the air to make the strokes that you see. Are you using calm and slow and careful movements or quick and energetic movements? The artist also uses short overlapping brush strokes in the figures of the men. The brush strokes and the image seem like it's full of energy and movement. Now let's look at the information on the label. It tells us that Charles Schucker made this piece and titled it Men at Work in 1940. It also says that it's made of gouache on paper. Gouache is a kind of watercolor paint. Now before we go on to the next painting, did you like Men at Work? Give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Here we are in front of another artwork. Take some time to look and remember to ask, what do I see? Now when I say turn and tell your partner what you see and whether it seems to be moving or not. Ready? Turn. turn. Okay, now let's look at the artwork again. What colors do you see? Here's another tool that artists use to show movement. Red, orange, and yellow are called warm colors, and they are usually seen first and give a sense of energy. Purple, green, and blue are called cool colors. They seem calm and quiet and can kind of fade into the background. Here, the figure in the middle stands out because it's made mostly of warm colors. Now look at the background. It's made of 2 colors of blue. Does it seem calm to you? Give a thumbs up for yes or a thumbs down for no. I don't think it looks very calm, but I think that's because the artist is also using lines to show movement. Now imagine the background, but without all of these light blue lines. Do you think that would seem calmer? I do. Now, we're gonna move a little bit inspired by this piece too. So when I say stand up, I want you to stand and make sure you have a little bit of room to move. Then, on the count of 3, I want you to strike a pose inspired by this artwork. Just like the artwork doesn't make any noise, you won't either. Take some time to think of a pose. Now stand up. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now, only move your eyes and maybe your head to see your neighbor's pose. Are they the same as yours or different? All right, now have a seat and we'll read the label information. So this work, it was made by Lori Gunn, and it is called Limber Limbs in Limbo and a Trunk. It was made in 1990, and it's a lithograph on paper. Now, a lithograph is a print that's made by drawing on a flat stone or metal with a sticky crayon. Then the stone is wetted with water before the ink is rolled on. Now, oil and water do not mix, so the oily ink will stick to the crayon but not to the wet stone or metal. Then the image is pressed onto paper in a printing press. This artwork is a sculpture, and again, the first thing we are going to do is ask, what do I see? Now when I say turn to your neighbor and tell them what you see. Ready? Turn. Now let's look at the sculpture again. I see a bird with a fish in its talons and another fish below them. Here the artist uses a new technique to convey movement. He made this bird and fish look like they're frozen in the middle of a movement. The bird's wings are spread as if he's flying, and the fish is curved as if it's wiggling back and forth. Notice we can see diagonal lines showing movement here too if we follow the lines of the fish's bodies and the bird's wings. But I also notice that the animals are stacked in a vertical line, and that makes me feel like this fish is not going to get away, because remember, vertical lines are strong and stable. That bird at the top seems very in control of the situation. Now remember how artists used brush strokes in the other paintings that we saw? Here we see that sculptures can make the surface of their work textured, and that texture helps show movement, just like the brush strokes in a painting. Now I want you to think about how this bird is feeling. Now think about how the fish is feeling. And then I want you to pretend that you are the bird or the fish. And when I say turn, I want you to turn to your neighbor and make a face showing what you're feeling, either as the fish or as the bird. Ready? Turn. Now, could you tell whether your neighbor was the fish or the bird just by looking at their face? I hope so. Now, let's look at the artist information. Peter Fagan made this and titled it Raptor Number 5 in 1989. Do you know what a raptor is? It's a bird that eats meat. So hawks, eagles, and owls are all raptors. When artists make several pieces of art that are related, it's called a series, and they often add numbers to the title to show what order they were made in, just like Raptor Number 5. This sculpture is made of bronze and is called a maquette. A maquette is made by an artist to show what a larger sculpture would look like. So you can see the full-size Raptor Number 5 at the North Point Marina in Winthrop Harbor, Illinois. Here we are at another artwork. What do you see? Now, as you're looking, I want you to think about what we've learned about line, color, and brushstrokes. Now, when I say turn to your neighbor and tell them if you see movement and 2 reasons why or why not. Ready? Turn. All right, I see movement in this painting because of the diagonal lines, right? Not a lot of vertical or horizontal lines. So there's a lot of energy here. I also see a lot of yellows and reds and pink, which are energetic colors. And even the green is a light yellowish green. So I see a lot of energy here. Now, what do you think this is a painting of? When I say turn, whisper your answer to your neighbor. Ready? Turn. Now let's read the label. It says that this artwork is by Craig Anderson, and he made it in 1988. It's called Prairie Winds 4. It's made of charcoal and tempera on paper. Now, do you think Prairie Winds is a good name for this painting? Give a thumbs up if you think yes, or a thumbs down if you think no. I would definitely put my thumb up. I feel like when I'm looking at this, like I'm laying on the ground and looking up at the sky through tall grasses that are blowing in the wind. I can even see the blue here of the sky, maybe even a cloud. Now, imagine there is a strong wind that's suddenly blowing in the room, and without getting out of your seat, how would you keep from blowing away? Show your neighbor. Thank you for joining me today in the Art on the Move exhibit. I hope you've learned something new about how artists use line, color, brushstrokes, and form to make their artwork show movement. Now you can use what you've learned the next time that you see a work of art, either in a museum or gallery, or in your home or school. We weren't able to see all the artwork in Art on the Move today, so I hope you'll be able to come and see the rest of the exhibit at the museum or on our Family Fun website. Thanks so much for joining me today. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.